Can you hear us?
Afternoon. Good evening. Just a little bit.
Okay. We are convening for the School Health Advisory Committee meeting. And so I would like to call the meeting to order. Before we start, we're gonna have everybody stand and do a Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America.
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and
Justice for all.
Moment for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. You may be seated.
We have another person on the Caitlin just joined us on
Okay,
as well.
Awesome. All right, so before we can begin, we're going to need an approval of a motion to approve the agenda. However, the motion needs to include the removal of the committee meeting minutes from our previous meeting because we weren't able to get those in our packets.
I move. Let me do it?
Yeah.
I move that we accept the agenda with the removal of the August 19th, 2024 committee meeting minutes.
Thank you very much. So,
All in favor?
all in favor? Thank you. All right, and Caitlin, I think you're online.
Yes, I am in favor.
Okay, thank you. Miss Robin, do we have any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we're gonna dive right into the review of the resources. So last time we sent homework with everybody we assigned different sections to everyone to review. And so we're just gonna go down the list and see where everybody is. So, and just hear what you have to share about the section that you reviewed. So the first unit on the list is the teen years under the supplement module 1, and that was Miss Glaze and Miss Rosillo. So,
Excuse me, I'm not sure what you want to make comments on pages, this page in the curriculum, 8 for the changes during the 10 years, 9, your changing body, and 10, developing your personal identity. So I don't know what you want, my versus my check marks, versus my comments.
well, let's start with what your comments were as far as what stood out to you.
I thought the steps for the refusal skills, which is STOP, I thought that was really good, how they gave the acronym, including strong body language, the eye contact, the cross arms, and serious expression, I thought was good. How you say a firm voice of a no and tell people why you don't want to. I think I can read my own writing. Tell why not offer another ideal and promptly leave. If you want to say a no, you just get out of town, basically. And I put this mint in my mouth and I have not the tissue to take it out while I'm talking. The page, your changing body is on page 9.
Ms. Wanda?
Thank you so much.
So that's the second lesson.
The second lesson, lesson 2, your changing body, is on page 9 on the textbook, in the textbook. And I thought it was good illustration of changes that occur in a female and male body, thank you so much, what they had. It was a chart, developmental tasks during puberty under social, and it had beliefs and attitudes of your peers. That was important. And I thought that what they had said there of sharing your beliefs and your attitudes of your peers, I thought that could be disastrous to try to influence another one 12 to 15 years old, as their beliefs could be totally different from what their own beliefs are. So I didn't necessarily, I say what I said, I didn't agree with that. They take another peer's beliefs and attitudes. That was my thoughts on that. And on the developing your personal identity on page 10. I'm sorry, I wrote a little bit more on number 9. Applying health skills. I thought the goal setting thought was a good idea to have them do that goal setting thought. I thought that was good. Then page 10 in the curriculum, lesson 3, developing your personal identity. If I wasn't mistaken, it was for ages 12 to 15. And I thought it was too much on dating and love at that age. You know, I might be behind time, but I thought it was a bit much talking about true love and all that stuff. And it seemed to me to be premature to talk about that for 12-year-olds. And it was a picture of a breakup with a couple of girls, but they were to me, they looked like much older girls, so not fitting that age range. And I just had a question, are the classes separate? Do the girls and the boys separate?
Yes.
So the picture that shows their bodies and everything, maybe a separate picture because it was the female and the male and showed their different body. So that was on the teen years. For my comments.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Glaze? So as far as looking at this material and then comparing it to the standards, which is the check marks, I guess if you want to share with us which ones you feel as though would be represented in the section that you.
I have my check marks.
Okay.
Okay, the G 6.1.2 on describe how the endocrine system affects growth. And that was, they talked about the physical changes during puberty and how it can affect emotional changes. So I put a check mark there. 6.1.4, explain why abstinence is the most effective. And they did talk about protecting from many risks, your health choices, STD. That was all on that section. I didn't see anything else about HIV or any of those
Okay.
other things. If we flip over to 6.4.2, I have a check mark to determine how to lessen the likelihood. And I think that would refer to those steps for your
Mhm.
refusal skills to stop. I had no other check marks on that page or any other, I didn't see anything else
Okay.
that I saw that pertained to the standards.
Okay. So, as in regards to like any state and local policies and our health education standards, did you see anything that stood out that maybe didn't align with what the state standards and the
It was
statutes?
beyond, I didn't see any
Okay.
quote standards. and
Okay.
anything.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Mhm. So what are you, I did sign it, you know, and the data review, is this just for me or for someone?
Well, those were
else?
for your notes, yeah.
Oh.
But I will probably collect just so we have artifacts in case
It's
we
fine.
need to present. I'm assuming Dr. Stratus?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, but
Okay.
to support the recommendation
Yes.
to the board,
Yeah.
so yes.
So yeah, eventually.
Okay.
But if you want to take notes, because but that's kind of what I'm doing too. I'm taking notes as you guys go, so that helps. All right, well, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Is Mr. Zilla?
She's not on.
Okay. All right, so that'll have us move to module 2, which was Dr. Pierce and Constance. So I don't know between you two.
Just to get started, the reproductive system, initially, I was unable to find the actual material that I was supposed to review, so I ended up reviewing what was in Teen Health 2021. And then I reviewed the supplement 2023, and then Ms. Vogt was kind enough to help me find the supplement 2021, which is what we actually looked at. So I read all three of these, and this is the subject matter is the male and female reproductive system. These all three versions were very comprehensive. I found them to be accurate. I think the material is suitable for grades 6 and 7, but suitable also for high school for review and study. I did not find any inaccuracies or concerns. And as you mentioned a minute ago, I do believe boys should be separated from girls in this section.
That is state law.
Okay.
So yeah, they are.
So in regard to the standards, I have them listed, and I
Okay.
can give you my copy of the paper, but I don't think that I need to go through these. G6, 1.3, 1.5, 1.7, and G7. I thought were covered. Others I wasn't as certain were covered. I have these sheets marked, which I can give you
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, not every standard is going to be,
Well, I have the ones that I believe are covered,
All
and then I have some that marked out that I didn't believe necessarily.
and Miss Constance.
Pretty same. All of the material was appropriate, based on the state standards. And I found that there were a lot of standards that just weren't addressed because it just wasn't.
Do you agree with do you have any differences in the standards you felt were addressed?
Oh, G6 1.3.
You're gonna have to speak up just a little
Oh,
bit so
sorry.
people online can hear you.
So, under the rural development and sexual health and disability,
Uh-huh.
G6 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.7. That's it.
That's fine. I have to find the sheet where 1.4 is. I didn't check that one for some reason.
It was a very short sentence.
But it, yeah, well, yeah, and sometimes you.
Okay, I can,
All right. Thank you both. Ms. Glaze, we're gonna come back to you. It looks like, because I think we did this by grade level, or tried to. So you are textbook module 1 for social health. Yep.
Mhm. Ready for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Lesson 1, building character, that was on page 12 in the workbook. And I had big idea, who is a positive role model? I thought it was an excellent question to make people think about that. And that video of Katie was very touching, who had no mother, father, and someone took her in. I thought that was good. She was busy productive things which kept her focused. The second thing on page 12, 6 basic traits: the trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. It showed a picture of a girl folding clean clothes right above where they were actually talking about health and everything. So it seemed like it would be nice to have a picture of a health plate instead of somebody folding clothes. It just didn't match to me what the thing was there. No. Yeah, since the paragraph right above talk about eating healthy food choices. And I said on that same curriculum, building character, what shapes your character? That was some good thoughts of taking into what shapes your character. In lesson 2, practicing communication skills, page 13, it was on page 13. Communication, speaking, and listening skills chart, I thought was excellent. The sending and receiving. The outbound was an excellent chart for communication. Family relationships was on page 14. Change ways to cope chart. I thought that was good also. Those charts sometimes really jump out at me. I thought that was good. The peer relationships was on page 15, and I like the acronyms: HELP, helpful, ethical, legal, parent approved. And I thought that was good guidelines. And I wrote here, I can't recall why I said resist negative peer pressure. Might have been a comment about that resist that. Going back up to 12, I didn't have enough room to write under 12, under building character. What shapes your character? You choose and participate to have the character, your life experience, role models shape your character. Those are other thoughts that I thought it was overall pretty good.
Okay.
And only thing I saw was 6.11 in the standards. Talking about a birth of a baby, marital separation, et cetera, and how that's how your responsibilities would change over time. I saw nothing else about pregnancy or anything else. And turn the page on the 6.4.2. That's a check mark, familiar to influence who you choose as friends. 6.4.1, your body language, nonverbal communications. I thought, yeah, that was covered. Then 6.4.1, oh, that's I. It's I. 6.4.1 is a check mark. Discuss personal boundaries, i.e., not being comfortable and being hugged, and those things were kind of touch bases in the literature. Endpoint 6.4.1 check mark. I wrote little things of why I said it. I may not need to do, but it's check mark there and a check. All right, 6.4.2. Didn't see anything under the.
Can I ask you this?
Absolutely.
The G 6.4.2, where it talks about demonstrate ways to communicate, would you say that would have been covered in?
I saw nothing about cyberbullying. I saw nothing about sexual assault, domestic violence. I didn't see anything.
Okay.
That's no check mark. No check marks below, and then knowledge expectations. On the other page, knowledge expectation, 6G, 6.7.2, check. Then the thing checked into the P, performance indicator, P 6.7.1. So if you get these, you'll see all my notes
Okay,
as to why
great.
I checked them and where I saw it.
Wonderful.
Then we have I, 6.8.2, check mark. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Wonderful. So our next one is the life cycle. That was supposed to be done by Miss Rosello. So I guess we'll have to wait until, she is able to join us. So we'll move on to module 12, which is, Miss Cindy.
I had lesson 5, your endocrine system. And I put, now I did all this online. I didn't have a hard copy, but I put that the glossary is helpful because the definitions were very simple. It addresses personal identity, and the lesson 5 review was very thorough. The video that was on there was easy to understand. I thought it was kind of neat. They had a British accent, and there was a good explanation of diabetes. I don't think you can start too early explaining what diabetes is in this country. So I thought those were good. And the only performance indicator that I saw standard was G 6.1.2. Describe how the endocrine system affects growth and development. I thought the little video with the body system and the pituitary gland and all the ways it moved and explained all that, I thought that was good. It was cool.
All right, any questions? All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. So now we are to Dr. Pierce. That's module 3.
Okay, the subject is bullying and cyberbullying, and I reviewed Glencoe Health 2021, the chapters on such, and I found the text to be very comprehensive and certainly appropriate for high school. And I think most of it, I guess, would be appropriate for grade 7, but I would just ask the committee, and again, forgive me, I'm old school, but on page 57, there's a reference to LGBTQ. These letters are not defined, and it just, unless it's discussed elsewhere or in other contexts, it just seemed to me to be a little much to throw out there for, I think, grade 7, certainly grade 6. Yet I do get that, this is something that, may be appropriate for discussion in some ways. But my son, who's an elementary school teacher, tells me that grade 6 knows a good bit about it. If that's so, then I'll retract my concerns, but they are still my concerns.
And to my knowledge, I don't think we're allowed to, is that correct? We're not allowed to.
We can delve deeper with the details.
Okay,
Right now, I'm just taking time.
okay, all right, good enough.
So sexual harassment is discussed here, but it's also discussed elsewhere. Overall, to me, the discussion on bullying, harassment, cyberbullying, I thought it was except the issue that I brought up, I thought it's covered very nicely. So the standards, I can call them out, but again, I can submit these to you. I-6 1.3 covers bullying and cyberbullying, but it's also got other things, I believe, relative to rape and things that we are covered. So I'm not sure we can really check that off.
Okay.
The I-7.1.1 is covered, I believe. G 6.7.3, I believe, is covered. And and 7.1.7. Again, like up above, the bullying, cyberbullying is mentioned, but not and the same is true in G6. I thought it was pretty much part of the section. But what happens if the
Well, I think we need to look at it. Whatever, if there is a concern, we need to pull up the Comprehensive Health Act, we need to pull up the standards, and I don't think we want to do that right now. I think we need to make a side list of that.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back to it because we also need to know where in the book. So as long as you have that noted in the notes.
yeah,
We just want to make sure that it aligns with our standards, the expectations, and also the law. So we'll take a look at any other concerns because I'm sure there's going to be others along the way.
okay.
All right, thank you very much.
I'm just writing and talking, and sometimes it doesn't go so well.
So, next we have communicable diseases, which was again, Dr. Pierce and Constance, which is module 17.
Sure. Right, so there are 4 lessons under communicable disease. First lesson consisted of just information on prevention of the spread of communicable disease, which in my opinion, it was, straight to the point. It touched on common disease that you see in the community. It touched on some, some that would be named as sexually transmitted as well. And they kind of broke them down on, I want to say, like how they may be transmitted versus contact versus non-contact. So everything was, appropriate and factual. So I didn't have any concerns that I noted in that lesson. Lesson 2, they delved a little deeper into communicable diseases. There were some some sentences that, so like mono, they addressed, these are ways that, you can contract mono, and they talked directly about commonly being spread amongst teens and kissing. And then hepatitis B being spread through sharing needles and sexual contact. So I don't, again, state law, I don't really remember the verbiage or if it's inappropriate or not, but I just jotted it down. That was on page 90. That they speak specifically about, sexual nature, things in sexual nature. Lesson 3 is focused on sexually transmitted diseases. Very forward about incidence, prevalence in communities and the nation. A lot of global health information. There's a lot of encouragement on abstinence, and then if there are certain times where abstinence is not available, I don't understand that, but it's not an option, then it spoke directly on the use of condoms and dental dams. So I thought that was something that we should definitely look at. It stood out.
Do you have a page number on that?
Page 91.
Thank you.
Want the text?
Not if she's looking at the online. It's I just.
And then moving, finally, lesson 4 was specifically on HIV/AIDS. They're addressing the avoidance of high-risk behaviors. They mentioned the condoms and dental dams again. One thing I don't know, I think it's going to be a little controversial. There is a video that discusses transmission of HIV/AIDS and how that is most prevalent amongst gay men. And, you know, how, you know, you need to target gay men to lower risk, and I'm sure that's problematic as well. So that video should probably be omitted based on our statutes. As far as you're right. Probably not. Yeah. So as far as the noted performance indicators, I have, it's quite a bit, so just you want me to name them?
Yep, sure.
G7, 1.2, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, M 7.11, G 7.31, G 7 4.1, M 7 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, G7 5.1, and M7 8.1.
Okay, thank you, very thorough. Dr. Pierce, do you have any extra to add for us?
I certainly agree with what she said. I thought that the section to me was, it was long, and to me it was extremely comprehensive. Very good information about polls and COVID-19, hepatitis, and the like. I thought it was very well done. The STD section, I think is very well written, but again, I'm worried about that material for grade 6. Just throw it out there. And I acknowledge that I'm old school, but I still am. So HIV/AIDS section is very well written, and has a section where you cannot get AIDS. There was one section I'm trying to find, I believe it's on page 399, but it talks about that that AIDS can, I'm sorry, that you cannot get AIDS by giving blood. And to me, that was a little confusing because, you know, AIDS can definitely be spread through blood transfusions. But I would agree. I think what they're saying is that if you are donating your blood in an appropriate setting, you're not going to get AIDS in that setting. And certainly agree with that. I didn't have all of the standards that she did. I didn't have any. She did.
Thank you. Any questions by anybody? All right, wonderful. Well, now we're on to Miss Cindy. She had just lesson 4 for module 19.
Yep, personal safety and online safety. When I went to this on the 8th of the month, the video says not available. The main idea was good. The photos, the only photo I saw was of 2 little Caucasian girls, and I thought there should be more diversity, but there is more diversity in the rest of the book. So maybe that was just an isolated thought that went through my head. The bulleted points on online safety were very thorough and appropriate. They mentioned staying safe at home. That was pertinent information, and staying safe on the street. That was also pertinent. Now, one thing I did question, it says we should establish rules with dating partners for online sharing. And I'm thinking these are 14-year-olds and maybe they're dating, but I just thought that was a little,
Oh, they're sharing.
okay. All right. They call it talking to, not so much dating.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking, and I have friends who are parents, they'll say my daughter or son can date when they're 15. So, you know, I was just thinking about that. But anyway. They could define inappropriate messages more. It just says messages that make you uncomfortable. And I don't know that that's helpful to seventh graders as to what's uncomfortable. They could put a few more specifics in the words inappropriate messages. And the only one that I checked for performance indicator was M 7.1.1.
All right, wonderful. We're gonna keep you going. So we're back to the supplement for module 3 for sexual feelings and relationships.
Yeah, just a second.
Fine.
I lost it. Oh. Okay, got it.
And this is where we're gonna kind of see a little bit too of the duplication.
Okay, lesson 1, responsible relationships. They define consent, the STOP, STOP formula, which I thought was good, sexual assault. Consequences of teen sex are criminal record and complications during childbirth. It was appropriate, clearly stated, good examples of sexual harassment, and thorough explanation of over-the-counter and prescription contraceptives. For lesson 2, diversity in relationships. Gender identity, now this is 8th grade, so these are the older ones. 6 vocabulary words that were well defined, the gender identity, cisgender, transsexual, etc. Sharing your feelings about coming out. There was a good list of how to be supportive if you have a friend in that situation. And the photos did show diversity of students. It repeats the consequences of unprotected sexual activity, such as unplanned pregnancy and STDs. I think it's good that they mention that more than once. And then lesson 3, marriage and parenthood. Factors of a successful marriage are well stated. The safe surrender baby law, that's a good explanation because I don't think most of them would know or even think about that. And that doesn't happen very often, but that's a good thing for them to be aware of. Lesson 4, pregnancy and childbirth. When finding information online, make sure to search for credible sources. In the pregnancy section, none were given as examples of credible sources. So that's like, okay. This is important, locally and nationally. There's no mention of postnatal care, which is listed in the state standard G 8.1.8. For the last, 5 or 6 years, we've had a lot of discussion through the literature, medical literature and others about the fact that all women are not getting their postpartum checkups and they're having complications after pregnancy and they don't know about going to the doctor or even the emergency room if it's a crisis. So that standard is not met.
Which standard did you say that was?
8.1.8. Okay. And then lesson 5, STDs and HIV/AIDS. The main ideas were well stated. There's a good list of types of STDs, and that some had no symptoms, which is important for them to know also. All right, I mentioned, let's see. So that was, I was a little concerned about the gender identity vocabulary, but I do realize if they didn't get it through school, they can also look up that information through the CDC and the World Health Organization. So I guess it's most appropriate that they hear it in a school setting when it's accurate. That makes sense? Okay.
I have a question with that. So with the gender identity and looking at the state, with the gender identity and looking at the state legislation, would there be a conflict with regard to the text to be in line to the legislation?
Yes, so, we kind of already established
And I
that.
apologize, I had to
No,
step
you're
out.
fine. With some other ones that we're just gonna review and point out and then come back
Gotcha,
and, yeah.
gotcha, thank you.
So, yeah.
Because if we need to pull from two resources,
Yeah.
it might serve us better depending on how many concerns if we do it at the very beginning of the next meeting. That will align with the high school too. Is what I'm
Gotcha, and then
saying.
this way you can make the recommendations to the board and then the board has that option. Appreciate, thank you, thank you. for
And you want me to say which?
Yes,
Grade
please.
grade 8, okay. 8.1.1, 8.1.3, 8.1.4, 8.1.5, 8.1.6. And I put a big question mark on 8.1.8 because it does not cover postnatal care. No mention.
I have that in the next column.
Okay,
Making sure that it gets
Okay.
addressed. Thank you.
but that is a really, it's a public health issue now, so. I did a lot with the birthing center in my previous life, so, and was in charge of the prenatal classes, so,
That was a perfect.
well,
And I
yes.
think when it's aligned with the standard, if we look at the high school, we can see what it does hit, what it doesn't hit, and then have those discussions when we create curriculum maps
Sure.
about where we think that
Sure.
engagement. So that's kind of why I'm like, I got it written down, we'll make another
Okay.
column, so I've got that.
Thank you.
Separately,
Were there-
make sure it's covered.
Any other standards that you felt were? Okay. All right. Well, yay, this brings us to the last one, which is in the textbook module 2 for dating, relationships, and abstinence. Got to do this one.
Module 2.
Yes, ma'am. Just getting to section. I'm gonna text it. I think it's page 42. Oh, did we miss module 10? Page 38 is in the textbook version, the hard copy. So the first lesson talks about beginning to date and how relationships change from when you start looking at your friends a little differently and thinking about dating. It suggests group dating to begin with, and then talks about what it means to go on an individual date with somebody. And the benefits are, pros and cons, I guess, for doing group dating, especially earlier in your teen years when you're still just learning yourself and learning about others and not going back to those risk situations of putting yourself in a situation where and it addresses that later as well. It also talks about healthy ways to show affection, which I thought was really good, that there's other ways to show affection other than sexual intimacy, and that it's important to postpone your sexual activity until adulthood and marriage, and gave suggestions for other ways that you could show. And really kind of not even in a dating way. It talked about how Bethany had a friend named Justin who liked to create healthy meals and snacks. And so she had a soccer game and he made a tray of fruits and veggies for the soccer team. Like, to me, that's like, that's showing somebody you care, but not necessarily like in a sexual kind of way. That was, I thought, very good. And that was, so that was lesson 1. Lesson 2 talks a little bit more in detail about healthy dating relationships, and really having them think about the consequences of their behavior and actions, and how it would impact their future. It talked about setting limits. It also talked about sexting, and sending sexually explicit photographs or messages to others and the consequences of that. It did also talk about age of consent, and referenced a website called ageofconsent.net/states. I did look it up, and you can basically pick your state and it tells the age of consent for your state, which is 16 in the state of South Carolina. Talked about respecting yourself as well as your date and what that meant. It goes into dating violence. It also goes into date rape. which really touches on some of our Aaron's Law materials as well. My only concern about that is if we have students who are victims of abuse, having the resources available and being prepared to deal with that should a child have a challenge with that in the classroom. So that was kind of my only like little kind of trigger for that one. It also talked about when a dating relationship's in, how to break up while still keeping dignity and respect for those, and how to do that. Then it also goes into, in this lesson, this was a big lesson, into the consequences of early sexual activity. Not just from, it does mention the possibility, physical consequences, mental, emotional, as well as social consequences. So obviously STDs, STIs, HIV, AIDS, and pregnancy were some of the physical ones, but I really thought I would have liked to have seen it do a little bit more on the emotional and mental and social consequences. Like they were literally just a couple of sentences. Because to me, especially as a teenager, that's a lot more to deal with than the physical side of it. Because even the physical side of it comes with its own set of mental, emotional, and social consequences. And so I would personally just like to see that addressed a little bit more, especially given what we know about our students post-COVID and how they're struggling already to deal with mental, emotional stuff. Then lesson 3 talks about abstinence and saying no, choosing abstinence, and how that it's a way to avoid a risk behavior, and how to commit to being abstinent. Also, tools for how to deal with sexual feelings and saying that, yes, you will have those. That's part of growing up. That's normal, but you're in control of your own body and how to address that and put limits and parameters and deal with those feelings. It goes into, again, how to avoid being in risky situations. It references going back to, that's why, and one reason why it's good to go on group dates when you're first starting to date, because then you're not in those situations. And then just avoid being in places where alcohol and drugs might be present, and know where you're going beforehand and communicating that with responsible adults in your life. And then lastly, it goes into refusal skills, and how to, it references again the STOP strategy that's been referenced multiple times throughout the book. So that I like that that's being reinforced as a strategy and a tool for them to use in multiple aspects, but specifically here in how to say no and refuse in an intimate situation. It also talks about dealing with pressure, and not just negative peer pressure, but also positive peer pressure. And I thought that was good. And the applying health skills, I thought was it that one? It's the analyzing, the thinking critically analyzing question in this section. It talked about, do you think adults experience as much pressure from their peers as teens do? And have that conversation, which I thought was kind of an interesting take on, getting them to think about, will this always be? So, but hopefully too, opening that door to have that conversation with that responsible adult in their life as well. So that was pretty much everything that kind of stood out to me. As far as standards or performance indicators, G8 1.4, G 816 and 817. Then on the next page, G8 2.1 and 2.2, M 8.2.1, and G 8.3.2. On the next page, G 8.4.1, 8.4.2 and 8.4.3, as well as I 8.4.1 and M 4.1. Well, I actually checked all of those on that page, G8 5.1 and I8 5.1. And then on the last side, G8 6.1 and G8 6.2, M8 7.2, M8 7.4, and P8 7.1. Any questions? That one covered a lot, I thought, but in a good way. So, I am gonna ask for your notes. So that, yes, please, if you would put your name on the front page. And then I guess we can make copies if they want them back. And then we can compile all of the, everything in one final
Do
document.
we need to give you the, just want the sections we covered, or do you want just the whole packet?
Just in case somebody did notes somewhere else. I'm asking the whole packet.
Sure.
I don't have it. I'll just do it. We're gonna.
Okay,
We're
yeah,
gonna take.
yes. My name on my own. Back off the patient?
No,
I know.
This is right here.
And you typed up notes too. It's even.
Well, remember, they
Well,
wouldn't have been able to read.
I'll give you a gold star. Thank you, ma'am. All right.
Put your name on here, so I'm gonna put your name over here.
Yes, ma'am.
Put your number, publicize it.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna want you. All right.
Wipe that out.
Okay, thank you. You're fine now. That's fine. All right, so before we move to the next agenda item, we need to now go through and assign the high school units, which is in your packet. I think
Your
it's
brown packet.
right there on top.
Now, in our books, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
I ended up.
Whichever one you want, you can have two copies now. So the high school has a few more to do than
And
the
we
middle
lost some
school.
people, so. That's
Yes,
what you're saying, okay.
so,
And you have Caitlin online as well.
okay.
And may I make a suggestion?
Yes, maybe not do all of them.
Sure, that would be great. If we do the same thing, so if you had reproductive health first
Oh,
go
love
round,
that.
let's have it on the second go round so that they can see the vertical
Okay,
piece of it.
I love that. And of
That
course,
would-
they're not,
Apart. I know it's not perfectly aligned, but if we can do some of that.
Okay.
that'll-
all right.
Well, I had reproductive.
All right.
So do you want us to continue, or you want to split us up since they're more? How do we do it?
That, well, I think,
We only have one other person online who had Caitlin, so she wasn't in that first group.
yeah, right. Well, so let's do this. Let's go through, if you see the ones that you did before, and then we can see which ones we don't have from there, and then we'll pick on Miss Caitlin
And then we'll need to mark this for Zillows, just mark it, just so we know.
that she, that's what she, okay. All right, so I'm not really sure what sexuality in you, which one that would be from what we had before. unless it's more like the teen years. But you had the one sexual feelings and relationships.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Just take it.
Sorry.
It's all right.
But that would also give you the next
That's
one as
okay.
well.
Okay, I'll be in my groove.
All right, and then for,
You want to take?
so Miss Constance will do reproductive system. Social health,
Marriage.
It's got marriage and parenthood.
oh, I just, I'm moving on. That's probably, so if I remember the relationships, one of the modules, it broke it down when it talked about the different types of relationships. That's why I'm thinking social health, where it talked about marriage, or you had one, which module was that did like the pregnancy and childbirth?
Nope,
And
that wasn't me. Ms. Glaze had the social health and Pastor, yeah. So she had social health.
And social in the teen years, and it looks like here, maybe the skills for healthy relationships, in module 6 would be
okay,
maybe something in the other. Association, I could do marriage and parenthood.
Okay.
Modules, it's I'm missing. See,
all right.
association, but
If you would, we can, Ms. Glaze, we can give you the marriage and parenthood.
okay, supplement module 4.
Yes, ma'am. Do we have anybody interested in pregnancy and childbirth?
That's Kate, what she would like.
Miss Caitlin, would you like to cover pregnancy and childbirth?
I will do whatever you guys would like me to do.
I sent you the email, the documents in an email as well as what they're assigning, so you have it in an email.
Okay.
All right, sexuality and gender.
You want me to do it?
If you want. Okay,
Because I had the others that have the
Okay.
definitions of gender identity.
all right. STDs, I would also pair with HIV/AIDS.
I did.
And here's so he had both.
Okay. Family relationships, I can take that one.
Well, wait a minute, who is this was?
This is the middle school. Oh. So-
Okay, Ms. Wanda's doing skills for healthy.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Because I don't have anything on here yet. I feel like a slacker. And I'm happy to do peer relationships as well.
Going down at the bottom, I did communicable diseases and I did STD.
Well, and you'll probably see some duplication there as well between the other one.
And I did endocrine. You want me to do that one?
Okay. I
That's
feel
the
like
last
that
one I'm volunteering.
Okay, I was about to say, I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's it. Got off.
I'm happy to do resolving conflicts. And then Miss Caitlin.
You get the beginning of the life cycle and then the life cycle continues. So you get both of those.
I'm putting them on.
So resolving
Yes.
conflicts and preventing violence, is that you or is that
That's
Caitlin?
me, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna read them all. We'll go through from start to finish because we were jumping all over the place. So I have sexuality and you is Cindy, relationships is Cindy, reproductive system is Constance, marriage and parenthood is Miss Glaze, pregnancy and childbirth I have Caitlin, sexuality and gender I have Cindy, Sexually transmitted diseases, I have Dr. Pierce. HIV/AIDS, I have Dr. Pierce. Skills for healthy relationships, I have Ms. Glaze. I have myself for family relationships, peer relationships, and resolving conflicts and preventing violence. Endocrine and reproductive health, I have Cindy. Beginning of life cycle, I have Constance. The life cycle continues, I have Constance. And then communicable diseases, Dr. Pierce. STDs and HIV/AIDS from the module, I have Dr. Pierce as well.
Now, is all of this material in either the Glencoe, okay, so where
It's gonna be another online deal. Okay.
it's gonna be a reliable?
Like this. Is it the same one as this one?
It's gonna be a different login because it'll be for high school.
So we'll be looking for Mrs. Cushionberry's email from her with a whatever. Okay.
Yeah,
You don't, I don't
I
need
think
that.
it should be sent out.
Was the high school already sent out? We will probably
We
send it
had
again, so it's
standards
like,
for high school, but not,
maybe we can send it again just so it's at the top of your feed.
no, there was a sheet that had high school and middle school. You're right. Yeah.
So Dr. Pierce, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the communicable diseases and STD stuff is probably gonna be very similar. Almost identical content for the STDs and that it is in the textbook. But
I'll send,
Check out before we can move through the agenda.
Okay.
Double check on something before we send.
all right. So now we are to the discussion of, was there any other questions about the resources before we move on?
or the process. I mean, were you all?
Right. Did this
Well, did we do what you wanted us to do? That's
Yeah.
the question.
for A plus?
Okay. Well, that's what we need to hear. Okay.
I think that part of the problem for me, last time was being able to find, what I was supposed to review. And so now that I know you all well, and if I get an email from you and I can't, get it, then I will, let you know, and then hopefully
Not
we'll
a
be able to
problem.
get it much quicker.
Thank you for your help.
Oh,
Yeah.
So.
I'm a visual person, can you tell?
Well, that's what I need. Yes,
It was easy to navigate.
Yeah.
No,
The way y'all said.
except for page numbers. I'm like, there's no page numbers. Okay. it's-
Well, the online is different than
That's-
the, yeah.
Yeah.
is there anything that you
It just says
needed that we
12
didn't
of
give you on what we did? Okay. All right.
Get a 100, did everything, because it's really your interpretation of what it is, the concerns we want to hear, and then we need to go back to what's the law, what's the standards, and leading with that instead of our heart, because our heart wants to, we should be doing this, and then we need to think with our head. So that's why I just want to compile all of our concerns, make sure everybody is heard, make sure you're getting exactly what he wanted, and what he had a question about, Dr. Pierce, or, on page 57, but you all need to see it. We don't all have a computer to have that access, so that's why we're gonna do it this way and have more discussion and stay on track.
Okay.
So if it's like the postnatal care, that's in the standard, but it's not in the lessons I reviewed. Do you tell the publisher, stick something in there? Add
Well,
some information or?
it would be a comment that we can share with them. They do have a place that you can do that, but it's sharing it with the company to let them know. But there's also the difference between this textbook,
Yes.
that's 2021, and
Yes.
what you're seeing online, because it's got a lot of the updated legislation, for example, Gavin's Law, Aaron's Law, cyberbullying, COVID, all those things you'll see in the updated version. And I don't know why postnatal care would not have been at the top of their list. But again, they're not writing the curriculum for our state. Our state adopted a curriculum.
Got it.
So you gotta
Okay.
think outside,
Sure.
and we have to look with that.
And also, it looks like, that login that you gave us, it was the middle school and the high school that was all there, so.
I just want to make sure that you're getting the same edition
Okay.
when we log in, and that's what I'm gonna do while y'all finish up. We have a couple other things to discuss, and I wanna make sure that everybody's on the same page when we discuss.
Our next topic is discussion of committee vacancies.
Mary, you're on.
Dr. Stratus.
Hi, good afternoon or good evening, actually. So the recommendation is that we're gonna put the advertisement back out so we can open up to anybody who still may be interested or new people who would like to join. So we're gonna repost electronically. So if you know someone who would like to join the committee, reach out and
Who have we lost?
I want to say a teacher, educator, student, am I correct?
And
And I'm off one because it's 13 and I've only identified three, so I do apologize.
Well, Pastor Michael he was here last time, but he's not here today.
Okay. It was at the very beginning, can't remember what he was.
Correctly, community member,
It was a
an
community member.
educator,
Yeah.
student, but I'm missing one, especially Mary and I
Um,
apologize.
So we're missing one student. The other student, she's come once, but she has not been because of band. So because there were two students on there.
Yeah,
We are missing.
she's a Battery Creek.
Yes.
Does it have to be a senior?
No, and she's not,
Has to be student government,
yeah,
so it has to be like student government representative.
At
so-
the high school though.
Yes,
at the high
yes,
school.
ma'am.
And we lost, let's see. Parent of a student.
So
Well,
that's-
she was the teacher, so she was both, so she was a teacher. And a health professional, we lost a health professional,
that was fourth.
so, yeah, a teacher, a health professional,
Student,
and a student. And the student that would be replacing should be she told me he was the president, he was elected in her position.
okay.
So I just didn't know which school to reach out to because I didn't know what school she was at.
If we could, work with Dr. Cox.
Right.
Okay, because he was the one who helped us.
Yeah.
With the fire, so I'll find out, I'll reach out to Dr. Cox. But it's part of their responsibility as student government lead for the district.
Oh,
But we're gonna re-advertise on the district website and do the same process, uploading a resume. They'll utilize the jot form.
mhm.
And we can make that announcement tomorrow evening at the board meeting as well as the public.
Gotcha.
All right. Are there any future topics? Obviously, we'll try to follow the same format of going through what we uncover with the high school
Next meeting.
at our next meeting.
Setting that.
But so glad you're here. So that puts us into October. Assuming Mondays are still good.
We have October 7th, 14th, 21st, or the 28th.
I'm gonna assume with the three of you that are in here, would it be better not to do it on a Monday when you have a board meeting the next day?
That sounds wonderful. but
Okay,
it's-
all
but
right.
it's-
So where are the board meetings in the month of October?
First and the third.
The 1st and the 15th is the board meeting for October.
Okay, so that would leave either the 7th, the 21st, or the 28th. I didn't ask that last time, so I
That's
apologize.
fine.
The only day that I would be available, I'm gonna be doing a road trip.
Mhm.
And the 7th is the only date, the whole rest of the month I won't be available. I'm on the road if I'm stationary.
So that leaves us
Sisters, I
1,
could
2,
do it.
3 weeks. Is this, are y'all able to get this done in 3 weeks? Is that enough time for you all?
I should be stationary around the 16th. I can't do a Zoom.
On the 21st?
That'll be, yeah.
That
I'll
would be better.
Okay.
I think. Does that work for you?
Yeah, the 28th is Brenda's birthday, I'll be in trouble.
You will be.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, so the 20, so the 21st, that's,
And again, from
Yeah.
to Kansas, so and
so the 21st does not work for you?
it's not, I'm not gonna be
Okay.
physically at a official.
Okay. I'm assuming that
Yes,
okay.
it's also election day.
That was. So that would, well, then the 11th is.
November the 4th or the 11th? That's
11th is
Veterans
Veterans
Day,
Day,
so we're
yeah.
off. So. It's,
The fourth, election day wouldn't impact us the following day at all, although it would be a board meeting, no?
board
The
meeting,
board
yes,
meeting is a,
right, it's, I mean, it's really no big deal, so.
Okay.
our responsibilities are.
Okay,
So,
all right, so
do you
November,
want, do you want to keep it in October or move to November?
And just another thought, I actually went and did my homework, and if it's something I can leave behind or send to someone, that would be fine. Like just what I told you is what I just repeated myself, that I can get the information to you before then.
That works fine. You can send it electronically, you can drop it off.
That would,
Robin,
that, so
I are
that
here.
would be fine.
so that puts us back at the 21st
Of October.
of October.
Okay. Caitlin, are you good on the 21st?
I believe so. I think that works for me.
Okay. Are you all good with 5 o'clock? Do we need to start it at 4:30? For those of you that are working or in, oh, well, no, 5 o'clock, never mind. I answered my own question. Never mind, I answered my own question. It's like, it's 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I wasn't that.
All right, well, so I need a motion
We
to,
can
Want
unanimously.
to do one more thing,
Oh.
introduce our
Oh.
newest member, our coordinator for health physical education. She's been in the Beaufort County School District for
18 years.
So she is filling that role. This is Emily Gray.
Hi.
Hello, nice to meet you all.
We can adjourn by unanimous consent. All in favor?
Bye.
all right. Thank you, Caitlin, you, everybody.
Somebody's gonna
Thank you,
send.
guys.
I
Thank
just checked that login that I
Okay.
sent y'all
Yeah.
on that email, and it does get you in there.
Okay.
But if
So
you
I
have
will
any
send it back
difficulties,
again.
let
Yeah.
Robin know, let
That's
them know.
good, Robin. I'll send it back.
You're gonna resend it?
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
we can
resend
have
it
it
so you
very
can have it right at the top so that everybody can have it.
May I say something, please, very briefly?
Yes. this-
Sure, Mr. Dallas.
It has just been a phenomenally wonderful experience to see the conscientious manner you've handled your assignments. How you really shared with great candor, and you always referred back to what is in compliance with the state rules and regulations. So kudos to you all. I've learned a lot, and thank you for allowing me to sit in. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.